is wedding photography, and it was kind of funny.
I say it seems to be a common theme because actually I got a text from Jim about 5 minutes ago that said, when you do the recap and write-up, please make sure you stress no weddings.
I don't know if he noticed me nodding my head back and forth when he was saying that, because I agree. I had a wedding business, so I'm very familiar with how that...
Well, and don't get me wrong. I almost killed our wedding photographer. I think it was actually you and Bob had to pull me off of the guy at one point.
No one's happy with their wedding photos. I don't know one bride that's 100% happy with whatever they get from their wedding photographer. That's probably why you avoid them, right?
Yeah, I mean, the pictures always turn out beautiful. I mean,
but there's always something that was missing.
Do we trust a phone call from a 319 area code?
What is 319?
I don't know. Let's give this a shot. Hey, it's the IT and the D show. Who's this?
You're on the air.
No, and they hung up already.
I'm hurt.
So, I mean, speaking of Jim, we were joking before we came on the air tonight. We were all joking in the hallway, and I forget how the conversation came up, but you're like, Canon or Nikon? It was like the Mac or PC.
It's the Ford Chevy debate.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Oh, there's no camera on me. I'm doing my fist up kind of thing. Yeah, it's
So is that just a preference, like anything else, or is there one that is good for one or the other? I mean, not to get too technical, but we were joking about it earlier. So
well, they're both great. What I have is still a beginner camera, and I'm still doing some really cool stuff with it. But it's a Nikon. I have purchased lenses for it now. I have purchased things that are specific to a Nikon. So once you get into upgrading, you have to keep in mind what you've already invested.
Yeah, like for Christmas, it was either last year or the year before, I got my wife one of those really nice camera kits. It was a Canon DSLR, bag. It had the telephoto lens, SD card and all that stuff, and half the features on there she probably hasn't even used yet because it's such an advanced camera, and it's probably a beginner's camera from your point of view. And there's so many, and it's not a point and shoot by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it really kills me when I see people using those and they have it set on auto.
Right, that's exactly. and it's got other features.
You bought a Ferrari and you got an automatic.
It goes beyond second.
So I try to teach as much as I can, and I start crossing, and I said, just write it down on sticky notes. Put a bunch of sticky notes in your bag.
Right.
That's how I started. But, not everybody's in it to win it, I guess.
So that's the equivalent of, standing behind, another web designer. It's like, no, use that brush. Use that.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say, it is kind of the same thing where, the first camera you learn is a lot like the first language you learn as a developer or anything like that. It kind of is what it is. So, is that, just talking about teaching, is that something you've thought about maybe, diving into, giving a photography class or anything like that? Like, I know you talked about some, rather unique, I believe we refer to it as the family-friendly S&M Christmas photos.
I'm really, really worried about Child Protective Services listening to this right now, because I do tie up children for these photo shoots with their parents' consent.
The little lights aren't blinking, Clark.
Right.
I would be a horrible teacher. I have very little patience.
Well, that's interesting.
Ask
you were
children.
saying earlier about how you had that moment. I detected the passion when you had that moment when people let their guard down or drop. How did you say it? Where they just all of a sudden unveil themselves. I don't even know what I said. Yeah, but
it's getting the subject in comfortable in the shoot, right?
Yeah, I'm not always successful. Sometimes my personality just doesn't gel with.
Well, like with us, it's alcohol.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we rely on beer.
Telling me now I should feed these tied up children?
No, that's probably not a good segue.
Well, at least the parents. Yeah, get the parents loaded. They won't care how the photos turn out. That's, I think, where we're going with that. But no, that is a good point. Because and we've talked about it in the context of this show before, because we've had people on the air, in the room with us where we know them from events, and we know them from just hanging out and having conversations. We're like, that'll be great. We'll have you in. They get here, they get the mic in front of their face, and as soon as the mic hot light gets lit,
should have had the Crickets app going for that one.
They're done. Like they lock up. and they don't know where, like, there is that, they don't know where to go from there.
That was me just about, the past hour and a half.
But I mean, it's hard, sometimes it's, it's, that's why, we've joked, God, how many times that, the best conversations happen when we're in a break or,
exactly.
or at the bar.
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, it's, and I'm sure the same thing happens, at the conference and everything else. I mean, because it happens at our events. The best things happen
on the way home on the phone.
Yeah, the best things happen off mic there too. It's not necessarily the speaker sessions that you go for; it's the conversations with people outside of the room.
Yeah, that's why I love the open spaces. I mean, we'll get back to talking about that because I'm really interested in what you're saying about getting people to drop their. To open up. That's really interesting to me because when we're in open spaces, the people there they're authentic, they're passionate, they're like bearing their souls. Here's what I'm really trying to do in the world. Is there's help me think about this. And that to me, I love doing the open spaces because that's something that happens there where people. I mean, that's
they get in the zone.
Yeah, they get in the zone and and their true selves.
Well, or they're just raw. Like they're like all
they're
of the
enthused.
BS.
They're pumped up.
Yeah, you don't get the BS refined sales pitch.
Yeah, the posturing is what goes away.
They check the ego at the door.
Yeah, and it's because they're really interested in what could you do to help me? I've got this wild, crazy ass idea. What could you do to help me?
Yep.
Well, and that's got to be the same thing, from a photo shooter. Just because I know you. I mean, you were all over the place at our events. Whether it was
I was on the ground.
you were.
Yes.
I actually have a great photo of you on your back in front of Cairo.
Yeah, I was going to say Cairo was blowing smoke something.
That was saucy.
Note to self: don't wear a skirt at an
exactly.
Now this is going to sound really.
You had your
really
Marilyn
corny.
Monroe moment.
I did have my Marilyn. Every girl has to have one. This is going to sound really corny, and this is part of why I really enjoy code. I really do enjoy it. Don't get me wrong.
You're a geek at heart.
I am a geek at heart, and I get excited about it. But when I'm driving in the car and I have the stereo on, and I imagine these scenes in my head. I imagine things that I want to draw. I imagine things that I want to photograph. Yes, that's how I'm in a dreamlike state at all times. And some
of the best ideas happen what when you're in the shower? Is that the cliche?
Well, yeah, they
come.
Wasn't that the whole joke about her she's her own boss, and so when her boss walked in on her in the shower, it was a horribly awkward moment. But no, I mean that's like the worst. And it's
thanks for calling.
It's a bad. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for calling, Dave. No, but we were talking about the movie Hackers, earlier in the week or yesterday on the Facebook page because it was the 25th anniversary of the Morris worm.
The worm,
and that's the whole Zero Cool. Dade Murphy, that's where that whole character came from. I actually had to because like Anita, my wife, didn't understand. She's like, I don't understand how you can get so wrapped up in what's in front of you on the screen that the entire world doesn't exist around you. No, it just doesn't exist, and it's
it turns into bullet time. Everything's
literally, the only thing I could come up with is I went and got the movie. I got the Hackers DVD,
right?
Popped it in the DVD player, and there's a scene.
Pulled it up from your entire Blockbuster library you have in the basement.
I've got a few DVDs. But so and got to the scene where Johnny Lee Miller, he's sitting there and he's hacking away, and there's code flying off the screen and symbols, and they're moving through the architecture of the system, and I'm like, hun, that's the best way I can explain it. It's that. Mm-hmm. And I know it's again, I know it's corny, I know it's lame, but that truly is what it is.
It's like a map in your mind, and you're just cruising through it, and you're
absolutely
channeling through your fingers.
You truly you get to a point where you can. I guess it is almost Matrix-y.
Well, I was just going to say, if you really want to geek out off the ledge, I mean, that's exactly why the Matrix resonated with so many geeks, is because that's exactly what they were trying to depict, is you are in the zone, you are seeing code within... I don't even know how to describe it beyond that.
Yeah, but it's mind, it's heart. Yep. I mean, the whole it's a complete experience. When you're there, you're so engrossed by it that everything else just goes away. Right.
Well, see, and to me, that's how I know when I'm actually interested in something.
Yeah.
When I can get like that about it.
Sure.
Like if I'm distractible. It clearly doesn't matter.
Yep.
Even simple, stupid stuff. Like when I'm sitting down and I've got my headphones on and I've got my laptop and the DJ software open and I'm whipping together an opening mix or something stupid like that.
Yourself.
Oh yeah, and even then, it doesn't. The house could be burning down around me, and I would have no knowledge of it whatsoever.
Do you know how many pots I have ruined boiling water? Please.
How do you ruin a pot boiling water?
Because you leave it on the stove.
You
and
boil it off and it scales.
Literally, the water.
I don't think he
boils
really
down to
wanted to
nothing.
know how to do that.
I didn't.
I've spent
I
a
was not
lot
aware
of
that was
money
even a
in
possibility.
pots and pans because I've been so engrossed in what I was doing creatively that.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to balance, the whole, this whole business thing with being a wife, being a mom, and you've got teenage.
Well, I'll freely admit of being in the zone, coding for hours on end, and actually forgetting to eat. I mean, I think that's typical.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Like,
Right.
that's happened where, and that's why, like when Anita takes off and heads off to her mom and dad's, takes the kids and goes out there to hang out
and you're still
overnight.
sitting on the couch like 17 hours later.
Yeah, when
it's like,
she
honey,
gets
did
home-
you actually move?
No,
No.
and did you eat anything? No.
You didn't shower.
Right.
No, I think I made a pot of coffee at some point, but that's about it.
And you weren't even sure how that happened.
Yeah, there might.
Weren't you talking about having an internet-enabled coffee maker earlier today?
You know what? Like I said, I'm not saying that I'm lazy. I'm just saying that an internet wired coffee pot, oven, and refrigerator and microwave.
But you need a drone actually to get the coffee mug to you.
Oh, dude. Well, see, and again, it's 400 feet in line of sight. I learned a lot about what you're actually allowed to do with drones today while I was doing some homework and research.
Why would I?
400 feet in line of sight, huh?
It is. So you're
You know
allowed
what?
to operate
The NSA
drones.
is totally all over the show now.
Oh yeah, we're on like 9 different watch lists, and I'm completely comfortable with it.
He added one today with the Child Protective Service.
Oh yeah, right. Well, we've got Russ calling. We've got Russ that calls in from Iraq, Afghanistan, Ethiopia. That lands us somewhere. All kinds of good things.
Yep.
But no, so I mean that's that was part of it. Is so you're allowed to operate. Because I mean you see them, even the little. Like kids' RC helicopters and that kind of stuff. Those quote unquote qualify as drones to some degree. And as long as they only operate within your line of sight, you can do whatever you want with them. So like, I like what I want is I want the giant airfish. Have you seen those? The air sharks and that
the
kind
air
of stuff?
sharks. You can buy them on ThinkGeek.com.
Oh yeah. I want those and I want that. I want to be able to figure out how to hack that and bring me coffee. And I would be perfectly happy.
Yep. Well, I mean, the big ones that are about the size of this table that you can actually buy actually have a weight displacement where you can actually mount a camera to it and have a little claw in the bottom of it to pick things up and drop it off like a can of beer. That would actually be pretty
You
cool.
mentioned you have
the
high
TV remote
ceilings,
control.
so-
I do. Got a good 20.
There's actually one
feet thing too, because I mean, the higher you go, the more line of sight you got, right?
Exactly.
So,
Well, that's the whole
Yeah.
caveat, right? There was one floating around above the Woodward Dream Cruise. We were sitting at Vincetta Garage, and we saw one that was it had to have been at least 3 feet in diameter. And at first I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a government drone. But no, there was a guy on the other side of Woodward with a remote control flying it around, and it had a little camera on it, and there was people around. You could actually pipe it in and display on your iPad whatever it was watching over
Really?
Woodward. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Also a little disturbing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's welcome to the internet age.
To the new
There's
age.
no getting off the grid. It's just,
Nope. No, you can't escape the world.
Well,
No.
God, I mean, so that was the whole, the conversation we were having earlier about, the cops have the ability to just sit there and scan license plates now,
Right.
waiting for one to pop.
Yep.
You've got the limo company in Missouri that got, and this is just stupid. Talk about client data and that kind of stuff. Limo company in Missouri gets hacked. Come to find out, not only did they maintain name, address, credit card number, the normal stuff you would expect to see in a customer database,
But what you actually bought.
right? And no, these drivers were logging things in the company database, and these were celebrities that were coming in and out of St. Louis. So yeah, what drugs
It
were
wasn't just
done.
celebrities, it was politicians, too.
Oh, as well. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what drugs were done in the car? What sorts of sex were going on?
Yeah,
in the
where
car,
they stopped
what,
in certain cities. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out because it's the. Rather well-known security website, and they were yakking through the whole thing, and it's so there are 40 of these companies that we know about that got hacked because we found all the data on the same server. But this one company, the limo company, is the only one that hasn't responded to us at all to talk about it. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and put them on blast and just see what happens and how it goes.
Is that going to end up on limo leaks? It gives all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it'll all wind up on TMZ is where I'm sure it's going to wind up.
Well, that's how hackers escalate, right? First time's, an email. Second one's a little, a louder email. The third one's like, all right, fine, I'm just going to out you.
Well, yeah, we talked about that with Mark from Duo.
Right.
Hey, it's we'll try to do it nice.
I'm going to be a white hat, and then I'm going to be black hat.
Right. Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is to have me, don't ignore me. Yeah, I will not be ignored, Greg. I think is. But no, so,
Right.
getting back to the zone. I mean, that's the thing. How do you